because it's the type of thing that you can make some little adjustments in your business and get significantly better results. So we're talking today about authentic selling. If you don't know what ShiftCo is, I'll share just a brief bit about it. But we offer 3 training events a month on average, sometimes 4. Some of them are what we call personal fuel. Those are in green. The other are business fuel. Those are in blue or teal. The personal fuel one that we have coming up at the end of this month is on focus and habits so that you can be more effective in your business. And then authentic marketing is the second part to what you're going through today. So if you like today, you'll really like authentic marketing because it's really about how do you grow more brand awareness. You're welcome to attend any of these events for free. You also can peruse our YouTube page. We have got lots of training up there, and we're very passionate about the work that we do. What ShiftCo does is we train conscious entrepreneurs. What a conscious entrepreneur is somebody that is trying to do good in their business as well as earn a profit. We train those types of entrepreneurs how to grow their business and maximize their impact. As of December, 85.7% of our members had doubled their business. We're really proud of that. And we believe that when you double your business, you triple its impact. So that's really important because if you're trying to do good in the world, you want to do good with more people. So your business growing is the way in which you do that. My background is I've had multiple business exits. I'm almost 60. I'll be 60 in about 6 weeks. And I've had multiple large exits, which means I've built and sold a business, including an internet IPO. And then in 2008, 2009, I had this crazy idea that I was going to use my business growth skills to do good in the world. And I created Share on Purpose, which is like a purposeful Shark Tank is the only way to describe it. So we invest in businesses that make the world better. This is an example of one of our investments. It's the world's first zero waste makeup line, first zero waste skincare line. So those are examples of investments that we would make. And then we also have what we call the cultivator. The cultivator creates our own companies. And that started with Succeed on Purpose and then a whole bunch of on purpose companies. And then in 2018, some of my clients asked me to create ShiftCo, and here we are. Today, 60% of my time is spent in ShiftCo, and I love what I do. Every day I wake up and help great businesses serve more people. And one of the ways that we do that is through authentic selling. So let's brainstorm a little bit. We all are building businesses. So what's the hardest part of building a business? Feel free to put it in the chat. And Tildy, if you wouldn't mind, Tildy is one of our original investors in this bucking bronco called ShiftCo. If you wouldn't mind kind of shouting out what some of the people say is the hardest part of building a business.
Looks like lead generation, finding prospects, getting leads, prospects.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right. And so it is a form of selling. Lead generation is a form of selling, and it is the hardest part. And when I first became an entrepreneur in 2002, that's how old I am. I've been an entrepreneur for a very long time, 22 years. When I first became an entrepreneur, what was the hardest thing was selling and lead generation and prospecting and all of that icky stuff. And I didn't like it. It felt icky. So why does selling seem so hard? Well, the reason why it's hard is not what you think. It's not just because of rejection. So almost always people say, oh, because of rejection. It's really not. What it is that you need more people aware that you exist, and you need more people interested in buying from you. So just imagine if you had 3 times more of your buyers aware that you existed and 3 times more people interested in wanting to have a conversation with you. If you had 3 times more of that, selling would not seem as hard. So part of what we're going to talk about today is how do I get more people aware and more people interested in buying? So the first third of it is going to be on that. And if you like that part, come back to authentic marketing, because we spend the whole session on authentic marketing just on that. But that getting more people aware and interested, you need 3 times more people aware and interested of what it is that you do than you have today. And if you did that, selling wouldn't seem as hard. So what kinds of things have you tried to increase your revenue? Go ahead and put that in the chat. And same thing, Tildy, if you could help me out, that would be great. What have you tried to increase your revenue and get more customers?
Pay-per-clicks, LinkedIn content, LinkedIn networking, personal branding, different sales channels.
Good. And then did it work or not?
Creating events, a little bit.
A little bit, not enough, right? A little bit.
Just a little bit.
Well, the reason why it may not be working is the technique that you're using may not match how the buyer buys. So let's say I'm doing pay-per-click, which is digital advertising, and I'm advertising on Google, but my buyer isn't on Google as much as they are on Facebook, right? So the digital ads that I'm doing on Google might not work. Or let's say that I'm doing Google advertising, but I'm using the wrong search terms and the buyer is actually using a different term. It's not going to work. So there's lots and lots of reasons why what we're doing isn't working. What I want to do is to show you a couple of surefire ways to get better results so that you can double your business and triple your impact. So what the first thing we got to do is we have to know where our buyer is and how to connect with them. So where is your buyer hanging out? Oftentimes when I'm working with ShiftCo members and I say, well, where are you networking? And they'll list off where they're networking. I'm like, is your buyer there? And they're like, no, they're not. So I'm networking in the wrong places. You can advertise in the wrong places. You can network in the wrong places. So you have to go where your buyer is. For example, let's say you sell to corporations and let's say you're networking on Alignable. You're not going to find your target market there. Alignable is mostly entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and small businesses. Let's say that you sell to small businesses and solopreneurs, but you're networking at a chamber event or you're advertising in a magazine for corporations. It's not going to work. You need to be on a place like Alignable. So you've got to know where your buyer is and you have to know how to connect with them. The second thing, and we'll briefly discuss that today, the second thing is you have to understand when and why buyers make a purchase. Because frequently we're marketing when we should be selling and we are selling when we should be marketing. So I'm going to explain the difference. And then the third thing, which is one of my favorite things, is I'm going to show you how to have conversations that convert to clients, which obviously is going to help your revenue grow. So let's start first with who and where is your buyer. So make a note of this. Who are you serving? One of the challenges that businesses make is they've been taught to niche down. So if you've been taught to niche down and your business isn't above 30K a month, that's the wrong strategy. You don't want to niche down before your business is above 30K a month because it's too hard to find your buyer. You actually want to expand your target market if your revenue is under 30K a month. So think about that. You know where your revenue is about each month. You want to broaden your target market if your revenue is below 30K a month, and you want to niche down when it gets above 30K a month, because that's when you want to start dialing it in. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, where are they? And you got to know where they are, and you've got to be focused where they are. You've got to be networking where they are. You have to be sharing your content where they are. An example of that is I frequently see a lot of people posting on social media and saying, well, I'm making all these posts and no, I'm not getting any interest. Well, the challenge is when you're posting on your page, those people are already aware that you exist. So you can post all day long, and let's say you have 500 or 1,000 connections, and you're posting and nobody's buying. The problem is those folks are already aware that you exist. You need new people to be aware that you exist. So what you need to do is you need to be posting in groups on Facebook and on LinkedIn, and finding channels on Instagram where you can put your information where the people that don't know you can find you. Secondly is you have to be where they are. You can't just say, hey, everybody come to me, build it, and they will come to me. No, you have to go where your buyer is. And then how often, are you doing it enough? So the sales gap that caused you to be interested in today's lesson, all of you came today saying you wanted to increase your revenue. The first problem you've got to solve is you don't have enough potential buyers who know that you exist. If you don't solve that problem, sales are not going to go up. You need 3 times more potential buyers that are aware that you exist. You got to dramatically increase the awareness. The second part of that, and by the way, those of you that were here in the beginning, I talked about that other event that we have in a couple of weeks on authentic marketing. Authentic marketing is 100% about getting more awareness. So if you're struggling to get enough awareness, attend that authentic marketing event. The second thing I told you that we would work on is when and why buyers make a purchase. So this is a very important thing, because frequently we're selling when we should be marketing, and we're marketing when we should be selling. So this is going to help you understand the difference between those. So what it looks like is the whole enchilada is you're building relationships authentically with potential buyers. And to help you think of them as relationships rather than sales, I've created a little methodology where I name them relationship names. So when somebody is becoming aware, they're a friend. Right now, you are now friends of Shiftco. So you saw something, maybe on Eventbrite, maybe on LinkedIn, maybe somebody told you. So you're a friend of Shiftco. We basically did marketing to help you become aware of Shiftco. And then you clicked on whatever it was you saw or whatever somebody told you. So you were a friend. You're like, wow, that sounds interesting. Let me check it out. But that's marketing. The second part is the event was interesting to you. So now you're a follower. You're like, wow, maybe I'll attend one event. Maybe I'll attend 2 events. I don't know if I'll ever join Shiftco. Doesn't matter. But now you are aware and interested. That is the first most important aspect of growing your business, is getting good at those first 2 steps. If you want more help with that, attend that authentic marketing event. The second part of it is when people desire, meaning they want to buy from you and they take action. That is selling. And what I frequently see is when people, let's use networking as an example, and I attend a networking event and I'm kind of pitching my services as if you were already aware and interested, and I'm trying to like hook you in. Or ClickFunnels and lead magnets are notoriously inauthentic because they're trying to get you to buy stuff. Doesn't work. What works is building a relationship over time. Friend, follower, that's marketing. Fan, fanatic, that is selling. The better you are at generating friends who follow, the more leads you're going to have. So that authentic marketing session that we're going to have in a couple of weeks, attend that, because we're only going to focus on those first 2 steps. Today, we're going to look a little bit at the interest part and a lot at desire and act. Before I go to the next part, which is when do people buy, I want to see, Tildy, if there's any questions in the chat so far.
I didn't see any questions. I think everybody helped to clarify the under 30,000.
Yeah. Yeah. So the
That's a
people
big
that are
one.
out there, that's big. It really annoys the what out of me when I see people saying, I'm niching down. I'm like, what's your revenue? 5,000 a month. I'm like, wrong strategy. It's not going to work. You want to expand. if your revenue, expand your target market if your revenue is under 30K. When it gets above 30K, that's when you niche down, not before. Okay, perfect. All right, so when do people buy? And why do buyers make a purchase? So they don't buy because you're great. They don't buy because of your purpose. They don't buy because of your mission. They don't buy because you're running a sale. They buy when they're ready to solve the problem. Okay, so buyers make a purchase when they are ready to solve the problem or receive value. And frequently, we are trying to get people to buy before they are ready to solve the problem. Here's what that looks like. Okay, so we talked about these stages here. I want to create a little chart. This chart changed my life, and I have it sitting on my desk so I never forget it. And what this chart shows you is what a buyer is going through. And I'm going to use you guys because you are in our target market, and you're going to see I never sell to you because I serve you, and then you decide if you want to buy. Okay. So I wanted you to put yourself, you're in my target market. See how this works. So in the beginning, when you first became aware, what we talked about was the problem. Are you struggling with growing your business? Do you wish you had more leads? Go back and look at what you clicked on. It was about the problem. It wasn't ShiftGo's great, we're wonderful, my mission is to inspire your potential. None of it was about that, because quite honestly, you don't care. So your marketing has to be about the buyer's problem. Are you struggling with? Is it time to? Do you wish you had? So think about the problems that you solve for your buyer, and think about can you change your messaging to be about that. And I like to use those phrases. Are you struggling to? Do you wish you had? Is it time to? Things like that, because it helps me not talk about what I do, but talk about the problem the buyer has. So in the beginning, when somebody's becoming aware of you, if you are talking about yourself, they're tuning you out. And it's crickets, posting, crickets, crickets, crickets. But if you change that and you actually say less, but you talk more about the buyer's problem, are you struggling with your confidence? Do you wish that you could stand in front of the room in full power? Is it time to face your fears? I'm just kind of making this up. If you use that type of language, your target market is going to lean in and they're going to be like, hey, what is this? So now they move from being aware to being interested. Now that they're interested, now they want to learn a little bit more about you. Now they want to attend that free event like you're here today. You're aware that ShiftGo exists and you're interested in what we have to offer. That does not mean that you're ready to buy. It does not mean you're ready to solve the problem. It just means you're aware and you're interested in what we do and how we do it. That's it. So what's happening psychologically in the buyer's mind is they're beginning to see you as the solution. They are not ready to buy. And if you start selling to them at this point, you're going to make things worse, not better. So in the beginning, your messaging has to be about their problem, not about what you do. The less you are talking about what you do, the better. The more you are talking about the buyer's problems and the benefits of working with you in solving the problem, the more likely you are to be successful. How do you know if someone is interested? Well, they ask for a meeting, attend an event, they follow you on social media, they follow your page on social media. So those are all marketing techniques. But again, it doesn't mean they're ready to make a purchase. And the less you are trying to get them to buy, the easier it is to sell. Okay. So understanding your buyer's reasons, which is the selling part, buyers are always looking for solutions to their problems. We have anywhere from 20 to 50 people attending every one of our events every month right now. Why? Because our target market is looking for solutions to their problem of wanting to grow their business. Okay. It doesn't mean that they're ready to buy. Now, the other thing is sometimes buyers don't know their problem. And this is why a lot of times people waste money on marketing is people are just clicking, right? Especially on social media. They're like, I don't know what my problem is, but that looks interesting. I'll click on that. I'll click on that. And you waste a lot of money on digital advertising because the buyer's not clear on their problem. So you got to remember that they're just searching. They're tire kickers. They're not really sure what their solution is, and they sure as heck are not ready to solve that problem. And they aren't necessarily looking for your company. So the more you're talking about why you're great and what your purpose is and your life story, the less interesting you are because they're looking for a solution to their problem. They're not looking for you. They don't always know what their problem is. And most of the time, they're not ready. Your greatest competition as a business is not a competitor. It is your buyer not being ready to purchase. That is your greatest competition. So they're not looking for your company. Stop talking about yourself. Instead, start talking more about their problem. Here's how you do that. Here's how you get people interested. Now, many of us were trained to give an elevator pitch, which feels very inauthentic and canned. And I absolutely hate it every time I hear it. I was trained to do it in 2002 when I became an entrepreneur. I remember the coach that trained me how to do it. I remember attending networking events for the next 6 months, giving my 30-second elevators to crickets. Nobody was interested. And so finally I said, okay, this isn't working. I'm going to have to do something different. And I just said, I'm going to just introduce myself different ways and see what happens. And lo and behold, I found a way to introduce myself that gets results. So it goes something like this. Love what I do. Pause, because that alone, you sound different. Because most people, they start with that blah, 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 blah. And then you say, you talk about the problem. I show founders how to grow their business and maximize their impact. That's it. That's all I say. Took me 5 seconds. I love what I do. Pause. I show founders how to grow their business and maximize their impact. If you are meeting me in a networking event, I'm not talking about how I do it. I'm not talking about the 30 years of experience and all that stuff I have it. I'm not talking about the multiple exits and how great I am. I'm simply talking about how I solve your problem. So what I want you to do is jot down an action item for yourself to reframe how you introduce yourself. And instead of saying what you do, instead of giving your title, instead of talking about why you do it, just simply say something along the lines of, I love what I do. And then describe what you do. I show X how to, I guide Y how to, and then insert their problem. So my buyer's problem is they want to grow their business. And in particular, they want to grow their business and maximize their impact. So all I've got to do is introduce myself. When I'm networking on Alignable, that's what I say. Every the little group that I'm in Alignable, I say, hi, my name is Terri. I love what I do. I show founders how to grow their business and maximize their impact, period. And then if the person that's in that little group with me wants to grow their business and maximize their impact, they're like, Terri, tell me more about that. So I don't have to sell them. They ask me to tell them that information. And by the way, if you want more help with this, attend the Authentic Marketing. I do want to move into the conversations that convert, but I want to show you that the what you do that solves your problem is in the first part of the sentence, and why it matters is in the second part of the sentence. And if you're talking more than 8 seconds when you introduce yourself, it's too long. And by the way, you can do the same thing on social media. You can post about the problem and then put your connect with me. I show blah, 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 how to do blah, blah, blah. And it literally should be 1 sentence short like that. Anything more than that, and you're going to get crickets. Okay. Questions about that, Tildy? Any questions in the chat before we get to the selling part and what I call conversations that convert?
Yeah, we have Laurel made a statement, and I think you addressed it a little bit, saying I think that interested, meaning following, also includes competitors who want to see what others are doing. So it's worth keeping that in mind, as it can be misleading. There's a big gap between follower and fan, which is very true, especially on LinkedIn.
Totally. And I'm going to break those apart for just a second.
Yeah.
I love to compete. I know that I can create a better business model. I can create a better product. I can create a more authentic marketing system than any of my competitors. So I love when competitors start to copy what I'm doing. I love it because I know that I can outmaneuver them. So never be afraid of competitors. If you are truly purposeful and you truly care about your business, you will beat your competitors every single time. Secondly, the people that are connected with you on social media are not necessarily ready to buy. They are just aware and interested. And if you're only posting, you're not going to win the game. You're going to get lots of crickets because they're not ready to buy yet. So that was a great point, Laurel. Anything else in the chat, Tildy? And thank you so much for helping me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Lynn O'Neill says it's a niche discussion. Is that the most effective time to add value to increase revenue flow?
Say that again. You come off of mute, Lynn. It's good to see you. Ask that question in a slightly different way.
I think she's referencing the niche discussion, right? And asking, is that the most effective time in the niche to add value to increase revenue flow?
At 30K a month, that's when you want to niche down. Before 30K a month, if you niche down, you're going to squeeze off your revenue flow.
So would you add, if you're before 30K, is what you would be doing, Terri, is actually adding to what you bring? So
you want to broaden the target market, and it could be the services. It all depends on the business, but you want to broaden the target market. So let's say I work with businesses under $1 million. You say, well, I think I'm going to broaden that. I'm going to work with businesses under 3 million because it's too small of a niche.
Mhm.
Great question.
That's helpful.
Linda,
Thanks.
okay, great. Tildy, any other questions in chat before we go to conversations that convert?
Let's see here. How do I tell a professional what their problem is without offending them?
Oh, my favorite. Okay. So I create what I call a problem map. And at the core of the problem, let's say it's confidence, because nobody wants to admit they have confidence issues. And then on the next ring is symptoms. And on the ring of that is symptoms, broader symptoms. But the true is confidence or imposter or something like that. Start with the symptoms and talk about the symptoms and not the root cause. And what you ultimately will find is the people you'll be the most successful selling to are the ones that want to address the root cause, but the ones you'll be the most successful marketing to is going to be to the symptoms.
The last one that I see here, and I was trying to figure out how best to ask this, was a B2B, for B2B prospects. I don't know what words they use to search for answers to their problem, is what the comment is in the.
Yeah, great question. So almost all my companies are B2B with the exception of one. Here's my secret. I interview them and I do market research and I say, hey, Joe business, I'm doing some market research and I want to ask you 2 questions. And question number 1 is, in the area of supply chain management, what's the greatest problem you have? And I listen and restate and listen and restate. And then the second question I ask is, when you consider solving that problem, what factors do you consider? Those are the only 2 questions. The interview takes 6 minutes. And then I use that information to build my messaging strategy. Every one of the companies that I've built and the business that we have, Ignite on Purpose, that does B2B marketing, that's how we figure out what the core problem is we interview them. We interview potential buyers and we ask them, and you'll be shocked at, if you do it authentically without trying to get them to buy, they will tell you what their problem is and it will be a game changer for your business. All right, let's move into conversations that convert. I think we're right on schedule here. So we talked about why buyers buy, and why buyers buy is they want to solve a problem or receive value, period. So you can't make someone buy, and all of those icky sales strategies and closing techniques and all of that kind of stuff, they just flat out don't work. So you got to remember, a buyer buys, I don't care what the product is, you know, it can be lotion, it can be this water jug. They are buying because they are ready to solve the problem or receive value. They're not doing it because there's a special on Amazon. The second thing is, when they make a purchase is very important. So what's happening here in the beginning is, we talked about this a minute ago, in the marketing side, we're marketing to them so that they become aware and interested. And the way that you do that is you speak only about their problem. And then what happens is they start paying attention, just like you guys are like, hey, this Shipco thing is kind of cool, right? You're not ready to buy, but you're like, hey, this is cool. What happens is, I don't do anything different. Changes is something inside of you. You have what's called a trigger event or a shift. I'm ready to solve this business growth thing. Darn it. I'm ready to do something about it. Something shifts in you. It's not me. It's not my, buy today special. That doesn't do it. The shift is in the buyer. And so the buyer says, how much is that thing now? How much is that Shipco membership? Let me just check that out. So the green line represents the price. When somebody is really thinking about the price, they are thinking, they're becoming ready to buy. But what comes along with that, the closer they get to making a purchase, the more something very dangerous happens. And that is, the buyer starts experiencing risk. The closer somebody is to purchasing from you, the more they are feeling risk. And it's not about you. As they're evaluating your product, they're like 85.7% double their business. That can't be right. And so as they're evaluating their product, risk is going up. And here's the funny thing. The risk is, what if it doesn't work? What if it worked for the 85.7, but it doesn't work for me? Oh, I'm not going to like that. And so what's happening is they're doubting themselves, and they're doubting the authenticity of what you're doing. And they're doubting that you can really do what you say, because they've been burned by other people. So what you've got to remember when you're selling, not when you're marketing, but when you're selling, is the buyer is in risk when you're selling. And the more somebody wants to buy something, the more you want to solve your business growth problem, the more risk you're feeling. And again, think about it. Like right now, what's going through your head? Let's say you're saying, wow, this is really good. And this is a free event. I wonder what the coaching is. The coaching can't be that good. How much is it? Is it, $10,000 a year? Like, you're saying all that stuff right now because you've been burned, because it can't be that good. Sounds too good to be true, yada, yada, yada. Well, that's what's happening when you're in that mode. So what you've got to remember is, what you're doing when you're selling, this is very different than what you're doing when you're marketing. When you're marketing, you're talking about the buyer's problems. When you're selling, you're reducing their risk. That's the key. You're reducing their risk. And here's how you do that. I call it the PSV conversational model. For those of you that are Shipco members that had a discovery call with me, you're going to see exactly what I did. And you'll see it's not a game. It's very authentic. The first thing that I asked, so let's say you love this event today and you're evaluating Shipco. And you like, Terri said she'd do a free meeting with me, so you can experience what the coaching is like. I'm going to take her up on it. Your risk is high, right? Do I really want to tell her what's happening in my business? Do I really want to be authentic? Oh my God, is she going to sell me some expensive program? Like, all that stuff's going through your head, right? That's not the way the conversation goes. The first part of the conversation is, Tildy, what made you want to have this call with me today? Where are you stuck in your business? So right away, you're like, tell me what the price was and buy today and slam dunk, blah, closing technique, none of that, right? Why do I do this? Two reasons. One, because I care about solving your problems, not about you becoming a member and buying from me. I legitimately, heartfelt, soulfully care about solving your problem. And I want to know what your problem is. The second and most important piece that I want you to hear in these conversations that convert, if the buyer is not clear on their problem, they will never see you as a solution. And most of the time, the reason why your conversations don't convert is because you're talking about what you do and the buyer is not clear on their problem. So what you've got to do in the first third of that conversation, and again, some of you are like, hey, JC is doing that. And I know, Carolyn, you talked to somebody else on our team and that this is what we did, right? Because we care, but also because you've got to be clear on the problem. You'll never be able to evaluate whether or not you can buy something unless you're clear on your problem. So that's number one, is the first third, almost sometimes 50% of the conversation is on the buyer's problem. And by the way, this is so important that I have it sitting next to my desk. And before I do a lead call, it's right here, I printed it out. You can do the same thing when I put the whole thing up here. I have this sitting here and I set it. I'm having a call with JC. I look up JC's website. I look up what JC says, and JC gets on the call and says, JC, so tell me what made you reach out to Shiftco? You know, where are you stuck? And it's this genuine conversation about you. It's not about me, the seller. It's about you, the buyer. I want you to be crystal clear on the problem that you want to solve. And in that, I'm restating what I heard you say, JC, is this. What it sounds like you're saying is this. I'm restating because I really want to make sure that I've heard you properly. And you want to kind of treat it as a conversation with a friend or a close colleague, because your only goal is to serve them in this moment. That's the only goal. It's not to sell to them. It's to serve to them and to really help them clarify where they're stuck and what their problem is. The second part of the conversation, about the second third, isn't about you or me in this case, if I'm quote unquote selling to you. The second part is about what they've tried and where they're struggling with. So what have you already tried? Type of solution that will work for you. So again, none of it is about me, the seller, you, the buyer. It is, and I'm not telling you why we're great. What I'm doing is I'm showing genuine interest in your problem, and I want to understand what you've already tried so that I don't recommend something you've already tried. And what happens in most selling conversations is we immediately jump in. Hey, Terry, thanks for taking the call. Let me tell you what I do. Let me tell you why I do it. My purpose is this. And we get all into this stuff that is all about us and not about your buyer. And by the way, you can do this same thing digitally. You can, if you sell e-commerce, you can do this, train your chatbots to do this. I could go on and on, but if you're actually doing it with conversations, you do it live just like this. And again, those of you who have become Shiftco members, you're seeing exactly what we did and why we did it. There's no schwarmy sales tactics. It's genuine care about you. I give a flip. I want to know what your problem is, but I also want you to be clear on what your problem is. In terms of solutions, I want to know what you've tried. I want to know where you're struggling. Why? So I don't waste your time. And if I don't think Shiftco is a fit for you, not going to recommend it. I'm going to send you someplace else. You got to do the same thing. So the first 2/3, 3/4 of the conversation is not about you. It is about the buyer and having conversations with them. And then the last part of it that is about you, the buyer, is I frequently don't tell you what all the great things about us, or, you know, all, unless you ask. I frequently don't say that. But what I do frequently use is what I call a power story. And a power story is you know, a way to communicate your value without droning on and on. And it's called SAR, situation, action, result. So it'll be something like, you know, JC, this reminds me of my friend Jim. And Jim found out about conscious business and wanted to pivot his career into conscious business. And the how we work together, that was his situation. This is action. How we work together is we helped him clarify what his value is. We helped him clarify the services. And today he's got, you know, a 7-figure business, $1 million business, helping transform companies. That right there took me 3 minutes. So the 3 minutes that I'm talking about what I do as the seller is in a story rather than telling you all, we do this and we do this and we do this and we do this, and we wear people out with the kind of Tonka dump trucking on them, which is kind of, I'm a Floridian who moved to Texas, and I've got that little twang, Tonka dump truck, where you Tonka dump truck all, you know, why you're great and all the stuff you do. They don't give a flip, right? So people will not buy from you because you're great. They will not buy from you because of your purpose. They will buy when they are ready, and they will buy when they are clear on their problem, and they will buy when you reduce risk because you understand their problem. That is what we call conversations that convert. So, Tilde, any questions that have come in the chat on this? And then I want to wrap up with one thing, and then I'm going to take the recording off and we're going to take some live questions. All right, so I'm going to wrap up, and then I'm going to take the recording off, and we're going to do some role playing and take some questions. So as a reminder, on March 27th, we're going to be working on how to have better focus and build better habits. And then if you want help with that awareness building side, attend Authentic Marketing on April 8th. And I'm going to hit the pause here and stop the recording.